Hi everyone. So I think that I'm gonna go to sleep soon, but before I go to sleep, I just want to talk a little bit about something that came to my mind. I actually received a very, I wouldn't call it amusing as much as ridiculous, but it's a video from my one friend of mine who works in public relations, yeah, PR, and he told, and in that video, it was actually a video of everything is just by this woman who was, screaming loudly. And what was she screaming out? She was at the park. She saw a female duck and a male duck mating. Okay, and when she saw them mating, she was screaming at them. She got so angry. And then you have that in the video, you have that kind of line. Feminist gets angry when enrages when she sees a male duck and a female duck mating. So what is it that I'm trying to get across? You know that my friend was trying to get across this message that he this friend of mine, okay, is a guy. He just told me, he showed me this video, and he was trying to get across the message that some feminists, not all, okay, some feminists are really really just blaming it everything on not just on men but even on women. Okay, even if you see women who are happily married, who are planning to actually, uh, give birth, okay, who are expecting as mothers, they'll become very mean. They say, oh, women, you shouldn't be giving birth to babies, you are like whatever. It's like now giving birth has become a sin, okay, according to them. And it's funny because you think about it this way. I don't think all feminists are like that. Some, I have some friends who are like, they would say that they are feminists, or at least not feminists outright cut. They're not card carrying feminists, but they are women who stand by the idea that feminism has actually given them a lot of space for expression, for equality. But there's always that particular group of those radicals who blame men for everything. They blame men, and they don't just blame men, they blame women as well. So when women really, some women, even feminists, some of them get married, they're happy being married because their husband respects them, gives them a lot of space and room to be themselves. uh, that particular group of radicals, okay, radicals and extremists who start shouting at other people. And we I mean, last time I was talking about these people, like, Nak Poche. She makes all her videos criticizing men. Okay, her only thing is to criticize men because she hates and despises men. Okay, that's what who she is. Actually, I don't think she just hates men and despises men. She hates old people, uh, and from the looks of it, it sounds like she hates children too. Okay, one thing, my sisters, I have two sisters, two younger sisters. They are perfectly happy being married. Okay, so take that. Okay, to all these radicals, they're happy. They have their kids. Okay, and they have their daughters and their son. Okay, and they're perfectly fine. The husbands treat them really well. They're happy being married. So I don't get what all these radicals, all these woke people are trying to say. That you mean, are you trying to say that all marriages are unhappy? No, there are people who are happy in their marriage. Okay, and honestly, I just think that I'm a bit, I won't say I'm unlucky. It's just that, for someone who comes from the background as an Orthodox Christian, I cannot marry a, like a non-Orthodox. I mean, that I cannot be granted that sacrament. And and the fact is that if my other half, okay, if we were to ask for that sacrament, and the thing is this, of course we can do a civil marriage, but I mean, what's the point? I mean, I want to honor my faith and everything, so obviously I want to be granted that sacrament. And she has to become an Orthodox if she's not Orthodox, and she has to be, or at least, at the worst, at the very very least, okay, not the worst, but the very least, she has to be a Christian of another denomination or tradition before she converts to become an Orthodox Christian, because uh, yeah, the priest wouldn't grant that kind of sacrament. And we are, my parish is very open about, very upfront about this, for those who became Orthodox when they're single. Okay, and I mean, it's very different from entering when you are married already. Okay, so yeah, the point is so ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's not just that Friends video that made me realize, how some radical feminists, and or even how some wokists, okay, wokists as in, woke people, they always say, uh, go woke, stay broke. That, when you start, it's used to originally apply to companies, that, when corporations start endorsing a woke agenda, okay, and when they start doing that, they get fired. They don't necessarily get fired, but they start losing on their source of income, because to begin with, consumers don't really want, when they buy a product or get a service, they don't care whether you are woke or not. They just want a good product and service. Okay, I'll be honest. Like L'Oreal. I mean, not just L'Oreal, but all these different, cosmetic brands. Do we really care whether all these cosmetic brands are woke? It's about whether they really do what they do. Okay, so they can say, of course, you are all worth it. All this stuff. They can have all these, slogans and philosophy. But at the end of the day, whether something actually really has its clientele, is basically whether it delivers. Okay, and the consumers won't lie about that. Okay, what they really want is what they will continue buying it over and over and repurchasing over and over again. Okay, so if it works, if it's good, they will go back and repurchase it. If it's not, they wouldn't do that. Okay, it's the same with, like, voting for a president. So or prime minister or political party. So yeah, I mean the only thing is, unless you're in a dictatorship. So this whole thing is very ridiculous, and then it's not just that, but it's also the very fact that it reminds me of something that I think I heard before. That I said before, that sometimes, I encountered back in those days when I was still doing, that time I wasn't really, I mean, I was Orthodox Christian. I was Christian in another denomination. I was like a Protestant and Christian. So, and I was kind of a very lax kind of person in terms of my own values and my own perceptions of certain things, including my whether I can practice tarot card reading. So, and I mean, to be honest, I was searching for answers. So, I started reading a lot of these tarot cards, but I kind of find interesting that in the spiritual community, it's kind of funny. They claim to be so open-minded and so non-judgmental, but in fact there are lots of these kind of people who are in fact ironically very controlling. They tell you can't do certain things. For example, an alleged psychic. Okay, I don't think she's a psychic. She can't even know what you're doing or saying, thinking, without trying to do cold questioning, constantly throwing out words to try to get your reaction. Okay, and the funny thing was not just the fact that I think she's a fake psychic, but it's the way that she was telling me, oh, don't do tarot card reading, because the more you do it, the more you believe it, and then it become true. And yeah, but you're doing your psychic reading for people, and people believing your psychic readings makes them come true. You get what I mean? It's like, you can't do this, but I can do this. What makes you so much more privileged? Okay, and it's the same thing with this so-called radical feminist. What makes you so privileged just because you're a woman? Okay, you're radical feminist, you hate men, that makes you right. Okay, you're not that more right. Okay, and I dare to challenge these people. The thing is that they used to be this one point when some of them, not some of them, one particular one of them, just using that kind of, like, the God tagline, Jesus tagline. I don't even think she's Christian, because to begin with, a lot of the feminists I know, okay, back in when I was in grad school, one of them, she said herself, I do not believe in religion because religion is patriarchal. That the idea of having a god, okay, instead of goddess, is an affront to them, okay, and so why isn't she a witch or pagan? And then she always makes fun of witches and everything. So it's like kind of like a contradiction in itself. So yeah, I mean, ridiculous. The thing is, she can say all these things, but nobody else can do it or say it, and it's like, you are as narcissistic as those people whom you accuse, okay, whom you complain about, and you probably even worse than them, okay. So yeah, I mean, like, don't for once, I don't for once trust this kind of people, these content creators. A lot of them are really very disgusting. And yeah, so anyway, that's one thing. I just, this is one of the reasons why I don't even make any more content about narcissistic abuse, because what's the point of rehashing, and then that my audience, my listeners, my those who watch me on my YouTube, I want them to actually take away something, okay? And there's no point in taking, repeating things, and then where it's the same old stuff, and sometimes they might find it negative, and if they don't find it negative, they might just find, hey, he said something this sometime back, and it's like, is there anything he can add to what he has said before? I don't just want to conduct this whole thing, what I call it, dialogic masturbation. Dialogic masturbation is okay, this is my term, my critical term, okay, we that it has been used in critical studies too. Basically it's thinking that you are saying something worthwhile, you're having a dialogue, thinking that you're having a dialogue with someone, or exchange of ideas, when in fact it's just yourself. You're having an exchange of ideas with yourself. You're doing your own echo chamber. Okay, that's what I mean by the dialogic masturbation. So yeah, it's ridiculous. And anyway, I don't think anyone in the right mind wants to take on that kind of negativity, that kind of repetitiveness. And I myself, as with constant therapy, working myself, growing in faith, okay, going for confession, I realized, this thing is like, all these things are really, what you give strength to and what you constantly feed will definitely grow. Okay, so I kind of realized that as time went by. I said, what, I'm doing stuff like, my uh pilgrimages, okay, my travel overseas. Some of them are not pilgrimages, like, I always go to Korea quite a lot, and I find that there's a lot of this personal space for growth when I do that, as opposed to whining, like, going overseas to a country and whining about people there. It's so negative, okay. um no one wants to actually consume that material unless you're equally negative, okay. So anyway, that's it for now. I'm off, and then have a good one, everyone. Okay, so yeah, okay, bye bye.